So let's have a real conversation right now. Have you ever in life got called to play aux and you were like, what in the freak do I do? What is that? Or you just got there and was just like, okay, this is what I know to do, and that's it. Have you? Let's work on that. What's up, everybody? It is me again, Justin Murray, founder, owner, and operator of Str8 Up Productions, and I'm here to help you guys with all things music, okay? Now, today, we are going to talk about the aux musician, okay? Aux player, the aux keyboard player, colors, whatever you want to call it, all right? So, before we even dive into sounds, how to play, what your job is, I have to address the MD, the aux player, and the sound man. I have to talk to you three, okay? Don't hate me, don't unsubscribe, don't slander me, don't make fun of me, but let's be honest. If you're gonna have an aux player, let's understand that aux is not less than. Aux is not some kind of just hunky-dory, oh, go noodle around, all right? What does that mean? Treat the aux player with respect, give them a part, let them know what their job is. Sound men do not turn down the aux player because it's not the main keyboard player. We need to hear the synths, we need to hear the lines, we need to hear the bells, we need to hear the strings. Get them in the mix, in the live stream, in the house, in the monitors, in the ears. We need our aux player, all right? Aux does not mean turn him down. He's just here because somebody said he could come, all right? So I had to come and say that. I had to, all right? So let's dive into what aux is. Aux is auxiliary, all right? Now, to play devil's advocate, yes, that is absent from kind of the meat and potatoes of the band, right? Which is usually your keyboard, your main keys, your piano, your bass, your drums. Boom. That's like home base right here. Piano, bass, drums. All right? Now, other main ingredients, organ and guitar. All right? That's kind of like main ingredients. And really, organ is still kind of not in that one. Guitar, for sure. Organ, it's a main ingredient, but right? Then we have aux. So aux is like your bells and whistles, your synths, lead synths, your strings, your bells, all right? All the other effect sounds you hear, maybe if it's like a swoosh or like some kind of thunder sound or something like that, some kind of pad sweep, that's aux. That's aux, all right? We gotta have it. We gotta love it. If you get the luxury of having an aux player in your band for your concert, for your church, for your R&B gig, take advantage of it. If you're the aux player, listen, go nuts. All right, you add so much to the environment. Your orchestra hits, all of that. All right, so I'm here to help you figure out what to do, because while you have free reign, sometimes that can handicap you more than it can actually help you, because you may not know what to do. So, let's talk about some things today. You ready? Let's go. So, one thing I'm going to talk about real quick is keyboards to use. Now, while I'm using an 88 keyboard, I off the bat do not really recommend 88 keyboards for aux players. Why? The weight. All right. Now, if you're used to playing grand pianos, you're used to playing weighted stuff, this might not affect you, but as aux players, you're going to be playing a lot of lines, you're going to be doing a lot of hits and things like that, and the weight can kind of slow you down, get in the way of things. You may not be able to play as fast, play as smooth. So I usually recommend like 61 or 70, 76 key non-weighted boards for aux. All right. Now this is a Mo 8 that I'm in front of, and I would recommend like a Mo 6, an ES6, ES7 or something like that as one of your aux boards because of the layers. Now, while you can only use about 2 or 3 layers without running into polyphony issues, it's good for like having your pads or your strings on this stuff that you can kind of layer your Rhodes if you need to sense. It kind of blends some sounds, especially in the live situation. It's just really good for that. You want to have, I recommend having one board that you can layer because you need to kind of get to those sounds quickly. All right. Other aux boards that I would definitely recommend, Korg Krome. Almost anything Roland from the Fantom series, from the Juno series, those are great boards. I'm a Roland fan. I'm a huge Roland fan. I own a GAIA, I own a Juno. Great boards for aux. Great synths, great pads, great bells, great lead synths, great orchestra hits, all that good stuff is in there. Great guitar patches if you ever need to do any of that stuff as an aux player, okay? So I'm gonna talk about a few key aux instruments that I've, of course, mentioned. So I'm gonna deal with strings real quick, all right? And here's why strings are important. We're gonna deal with an ensemble string kind of sound today. I'm gonna use medium ensemble. All right, kind of sounds like a section. Okay, as keyboard players, we get used to kind of copying what we play on piano with the strings, right? Because of the patch. We've all heard things like, right, a piano with a string undertone. Right? So we kind of think like that when it comes to playing, like if we're actually on aux playing strings, all right? I'm gonna change that for you, your aux musician. Think like a symphony, think like a string section, right? Not a quartet, not a trio, but an actual full-on string section. What would that sound like? If you think about like Disney music, musicals, certain things you hear in movies, right? They're not necessarily always copying what the piano is doing. Even in the realm of gospel, one great example of great string aux playing is like Todd Delaney's music. Man, like amazing string work, right? So think about what you can complement to what's happening. So let's just say it's a groove happening, right? It's like a little worship groove or something slow, right? So let's say if it's like a right? So now while you could easily play right behind that, if we got that groove going, right? Think about playing like a right? Something that complements what's happening. Or what you could do is kind of copy that line that's on top, right? If you remember I was playing, right? You could just as well copy what's on top, right? Where's my string sound? Here we go. And then if you really want to get orchestrative, right, get your left hand involved. Right? And kind of come up with some kind of counter melody on top of that. Get really involved. Don't limit yourself to just. Now, if that's what your MD or producer wants, of course, do that. But branch out, all right, and see what can happen. The other thing is like in fast songs, you can use strings in fast songs too, right? Use scales. All right, let's say if it's let's say you guys like have a hit on the 5 or something like that, right? You're in the groove, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, right? All right, let's say if it's a big hit, you can use strings and kind of think symphonically, right? 1, 2, 3, right? And kind of lead up to that hit. 1, 2, 3, cut. Okay. And let's say if it's another groove, right? Something melodic I was playing before. Think about little fast lines you can do. Right? Think what you can add. Don't think about layering on top of what's already there. Think about what goes with it, right? Right? Think about if you want to think about food. Let's just think about food because I like food. Okay? If fries are already on the plate, don't bring tots to the plate. If it's fries already there, don't bring tots. We already have a good potato. If it's fries there, don't bring curly fries. Don't bring crinkle cut. Bring some cheese. Bring some bacon bits. All right? Bring some honey mustard. All right? Bring something to drink. Right? That's what you are as an aux player. You're here to complement. You're here to add to, not necessarily layer on or double what's already there. All right? Let's choose a different instrument. Or different sound, rather. So let's go over to some synths, all right? Now, depending on how your band is set up, how your ND plays, you might be responsible for all the synths, right? As in like a brassy synth, a heavy one. I'm gonna use, let me actually use this guy here. I'll use Big Comp. That's a nice one. All right? You might be responsible for a big synth like that, or you may have to add to what the MDs are already playing because they might be playing a layer, right? That has a synth in it as well. All right? So if you're responsible for all the synth work, right? Let's say your MD is just playing just piano or just Rhodes or something like that. Then you kind of want to stay with the progression, right? And think about what kind of attitude that you can add. That's kind of what this mod wheel does over here. Kind of adds a little bit of attitude to what's happening, right? So, let's think like Freedom, right? By Eddie James. So if we're playing that, 1, 2, 3. All right, now how can we take that up a level? All right, using arpeggiations, not necessarily arpeggiations, but inversions, that's the word. And our two friends over here, pitch bend and mod wheel, all right? Now, one thing I love about like Korg boards, Roland boards, is that they have the horizontal kind of all-in-one pitch bend and mod wheel. And that kind of, for me, makes it a little bit easier to use them the way I want to use them, right? And I'll show you what I mean. So like, if we're playing Freedom, something like that, something that's driving. If I'm just doing this. right? If I'm just playing that, that's not necessarily bad, but what I could be doing is something like, right? Add a little bit more flavor, a little more attitude to what's happening, especially if you have that freedom, right? Your MD's not playing another synth underneath it, so it's not gonna necessarily clash. So you really have the opportunity there to kind of get creative and get orchestrative and kind of branch out rather than just copying what's there, right? Right? You really have a chance to kind of branch out and get creative. So those are things you can do. And so what I'm doing is taking the mod wheel, I'm actually starting down to kind of slide up, right? But I'm doing it quickly because it's kind of like a little scoop, a little slide into the chord. And then immediately I'm turning that mod wheel up to add some attitude, right? To add some flavor. And especially if I have to change inversions, I'm holding the sustain pedal down, right? Doing it every time. Right? You want to be careful because you don't want that stuff to get played out and kind of boring, but think about where that stuff can go and be tasteful with it, all right? So that's if you're in complete control of the synth sound. Now, let's say your MD has a layer, right, in what he's doing. We really got to turn our listening ears on, all right? The first thing that you want to avoid is having the same or similar synth sound that your main pianist is using, all right? Big no-no. Big no-no. We don't want that. All right, so it's a big way to kind of rule that out is if you guys have the same board. Chances are, if you have a Yamaha, he has a Yamaha, right? Same sound, same sounds are being used, right? So either ask him what kind of synth sound that is, or just listen. You may recognize it, and just try to choose one that's not the same. All right, something that still kind of accomplishes. If you want something that's stabby, you want something that's smooth. Just get inside your board and kind of learn what sounds those are, and pick something that's not the same as what it is, so you can still kind of be different and add that flavor to what's happening. All right, you don't want the same sound. Next, you don't want to play in the same register as the MD, because you do not want your voicings and stuff to kind of clash, and you don't want those same sounds to kind of get muddy and piled on top of each other, all right? So automatically, you probably want to take it up an octave, right, to get out of his way a little bit and kind of help yourself stand out just a touch, all right? Think about the same song, Freedom. At that point, what I would recommend is thinking riff-based, all right? Thinking riff-based, something that's going to stand out, right? So if your MD is already in here playing, right? I wouldn't be doing the same thing. I would kind of think, well, right, something that simple, or 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3. Right? Think something that kind of fits the style, fits the mood, but kind of helps you stand out a little bit. Where does that come from? Listening, right? If it's an R&B record, listen to R&B. Figure out what's going on. If it's a pop record, listen to some pop tunes. Figure out what's going on. Classical, whatever it is. Get familiar with that style and see what kind of elements are there and see what you can replicate. All right, that's how you learn stuff and add it to your arsenal in a situation like this. All right, so that's our kind of like main sense. All right, when we get into lead sense, there's a lot of different ways we can go with this: hard sense, soft sense, sine leads, poly, mono, fifth leads, all that kind of stuff. You just gotta kind of, I don't want to spend time going into each type, but you gotta go in there and figure out what fits. Especially you, the studio producer, the studio engineer. All right, learn what sound, because in this case, in the studio sense, you can use multiple lead synths on the record. All right, so figure out what sounds good with the vibe, with the style of music that you're doing, with the record that it is, and figure out what sound can go where. If you want to use it throughout the whole song, just a part of it, whatever the case may be, right? So here's a sound called Mini 3. It's a monophonic sound, which most lead synths are. What does that mean? You can't play chords, right? One note at a time. All right? So based off that sound, it's in your face, it's aggressive, it's kind of grungy. In church, in the gospel setting, I would not use that sound over like a slow song unless it's a high energy moment that really calls for it. Definitely wouldn't use this over anything super symphonic, like if you're doing like a string piece, right? This is not something that we try to play something real melodic over. Right? That's not the sound. In an R&B setting, if something's like really smooth, especially if it's something intimate like a Her record or something like that, where it's guitar and vocal, or an Adele record, this is not the patch, right, that we use. This is something that's funky, fast, rocky, something that's driving, something that's grooving, right? And so when you're doing lead synth stuff, you want to think as melodic as possible, unless you're copying a line. A line is already going to be melodic, right? Right? If you have some kind of line, right? Of course you can copy that, but let's say you have, you know, you're in the middle of a vamp or something like that, and you're using like a lead synth patch. That's what you want to do, right? Think about something that's melodic. Right? Think about something that's melodic, something that kind of fits into what's happening. All right? That's how we deal with stuff like this. Sine leads. Let's see if I can find one real quick. Let's go to soft. Let's see. All right. So with sine leads, some of them are polyphonic, which means you can play chords. Some of them are monophonic, which means that you can't. Sine leads are a little smoother, and I use sine leads for various different things. They're cool in like fast and slow songs, right? Because in a fast song, they can be nice and smooth and kind of driving underneath, right? Again, with the freedom concept. Right? You can be something nice and subtle underneath. You, even if you're just like have another board and you're doing something else over there, you can. Right? And it can drive nice and smooth underneath there for you while you're doing something else. But even in a slow record, something as simple as, I mean, all y'all have heard like the old school R&B records, we hear the, right? something as simple as that can just add a little nice little flavor on top of what you're doing. It's great for intros, great for little, little effects like that, right? Just a nice little sound. And you can do slides and stuff. Now this one has a built-in delay in it, which is nice too. Right? All kind of stuff can happen with that. Okay? Those are signed leads. Stuff like bells and orchestra hits, definitely for big stabs. Like I just talked about with the strings, if you're leading up to a big hit on the 5, if that's what's happening in the tune and you have the opportunity or the availability to use a hit, yeah. Big one. 1, 2, on a hip hop record, in an R&B intro, in a gospel hit, orchestra hits, man, play a huge role. 1, 2, just adds a whole nother element of depth to what's going on, right? Bells do a great job of copying like big melody points, big lines, right? So if you are playing bells live on a record, certain big lines that you're playing bells on top of that definitely helps. Okay? What I recommend with bells is studying what the different type of bells sound like. So on this board, right, this, what? Kind of thin, has a lot of attack, right? What's happening here? Kind of mystical, right? Not bad. Check this guy out. Okay, so it's fuller, but it's kind of short to me. It doesn't really sustain as much. And it's kind of almost synthy. It's not a whole lot of bell in that one. There's a little bit in there, but I'm getting like almost like a steel drum undertone, right? So understand how that's different. Let's check this one out. Definitely some bell in there. All right, getting a little canny down here, right? Which you don't really play too much bells in the lower register anyway. But up here sounding real nice. A little sustain on it and everything. Beautiful. All right, wood bell. Really mattily, right? So go through and just see what the different bell characteristics are and see what you like. Personally, when I'm at home doing my studio records, I created a bell patch and just kind of took from a bunch of different bells and made my own bell patch because it's nice and full and thick, but it has a nice attack on the high end as well to really help the bells carry through in the mix like I want to, right? To really give it the sound that I hear in my head. So little lines like that. Okay? Copying lines up top, especially on slower records, definitely use bells. If you want to think about a line that you could kind of do in the middle of like a groove or something like that, definitely think melodic. Just as an aux player in general, think melodic, but you want to be careful with bells about how often you play because they're really tingy, right? And it has, especially a sound like this, that has that sustain on it, it can get muddy real fast, right? That too much over and over, depending on the situation, can get annoying really fast. I tried to come up with another word, but I couldn't. Sorry. it can get annoying really fast. So maybe like one 5 or 6 note phrase every 4 bars, right? Something that's in and out, a little ear candy, right? And keep it going. Now, those are just some tips. I'm not telling you to do all of this all the time on every record. No, this is just how you attack playing aux with some different sounds that you see here that may be available to your board, on your board. So again, aux boards that I recommend, anything that is 76 or 61 as kind of a basis. Some 49 keyboards work, especially some analog synths. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of the Roland GAIA, which is 37 keys. I know the Roland JDXI. It's kind of a mini key situation, but you got the Juno that's a little bit bigger. You got the Fantom series stuff, which is really nice. Korg Krome, Korg Tritons. Those are still excellent boards. You got the Nord stuff that's out now, the Nord lead and all that good stuff. So whatever's in your price range, whatever you like, go in there, find it. I recommend staying away from piano sounds, organ sounds, some Rhodes sounds depending on the gig, depending on your main keys player. You never want to clash with what they're doing. So you want to stay away from main sounds. Again, acoustic pianos, Rhodes, Dyno Rhodes, MKS 20 sounds. Like those are not aux sounds, right? You want to stay with strings, pads, lead synths, main leads, horns, orchestra hits, bells. All right. So how do we get better at aux? Listening. Again, listening. Listen to the record and don't listen for chord change or anything. Listen for those auxiliary sounds and see what you can emulate. What other sounds do we hear? What's the synth player doing? What's the horn player doing? What's happening in the strings, right? Listen for those things and see what you can either emulate, replicate, or expound on in your own playing, all right? That is how we get better. So, to you, my friend, my aux player, I say, happy learning, happy practicing. I hope this video helped you. I hope this kind of gave you an idea of how to approach your aux playing a little differently, all right? So happy playing, happy learning, happy practicing. Much love to you all out there, all right? The composer, the mixing engineer, I see you too. I am talking to you. All right, hopefully this sparks some ideas about what to do in your arrangements, in your production time, your composer. Hopefully this sparks some ideas about how to utilize some different instruments in your compositions, in your arrangements, all right? Much love to you all. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe. Go get you some merch. Check out the book. All of that. Feel free to just hit me up. I want to hear some testimonials. Tag Str8 Up Productions in your Facebook post if you're liking what you are seeing and hearing and learning. All right. Much love to all of y'all. I will see you next time.